Let's see. Let's see. And we are live. Let's see when we're live on the good old YouTube. Oh, there's an ad. Gotta love the ads. And we are live. Let's see when we're live on the good old.
Somebody's got, it looks like they're maybe video playing.
And we are live.
Anybody who's got YouTube open, mute it.
Yeah, you have to mute. Yeah. You have to mute YouTube.
It's like
there we go.
Maybe video playing.
Oh. I was like, I have no YouTube playing. I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Was it you, Barb?
Yeah. I was trying to get the links to share it out.
All right. Okay. Oh, wait. Let's see. We have a late incoming. Molly's trying to get her video going. So real quick, while we're just kind of getting started, this is the 3D Printing Ladies or Ladies of 3D Printing chat for the month. We try to hold this chat once a month for all of the female makers in the 3D printing community. We like to kind of get questions from the community to see what sorts of things you guys want to get maybe a female perspective on, since we are a little bit of a minority growing. We are growing, but a little bit of a minority in the community. And so we're trying to kind of branch that out. So we have some fabulous ladies on the panel today. And we're going to start out here in just a couple minutes. We're waiting for, I was just going to wait a little bit for the, for some viewers to come in. Travis is already trolling me in the chat saying that I'm 2 minutes late, but what are we going to do? So we have got some people in the chat already. We've got Matt from How I Do It. We've got Chelsea watching us from work. We've got Travis who's watching us from the grocery store because he's not here. He's getting me coffee. And we've got Arcania, and that's it for now. And we've got some lurkers who aren't chatting at this point, but you know. So, oh, go ahead. No. Okay. So we've got 60 people watching now. I'd say let's go ahead. We'll start with our introductions. My name's Heather, and I currently am on a YouTube channel with my husband, Travis from Apyro Design. And I am the self-proclaimed boss of the 3D Pink Mafia. As you can see behind me, I have some amazing pink prints. These are not even a drop in the bucket of the pink prints that I have in my house. And yeah, so we, really my kind of thing is I am all about community support, helping fuse the community together, and also really trying to get into more community outreach, which is something we're going to talk about today. Getting involved in schools, maker spaces, libraries, things like that. So that's me in a nutshell. And let's hand it off to Barb, and she's going to talk a little bit about herself, and then we'll go down the line from there. Take it away. Oh, hi, Vicky. So we're getting ready to do our introductions. So I'm gonna let Barb go first, and then we'll go down the line. All right.
I've been 3D printing for actually this month of June. Just finished up 2 years now. And once I started printing, I bought a big spool of black ABS and white PLA, and I quickly got, and then somebody asked me to make them a phone case. So then I bought some flexible filament, and then I bought black also. So I ended up with 3 big, huge spools of filament, and I got color deprived, and I had this idea that, gee, it would be great if you could get smaller spools. So I started a business with the flexible filament because it was more expensive. And I have this little machine. It works almost like a film projector, and I spool the big spools down to little spools, and I sell them. And my son said, oh, you got to get on Amazon, you got to do that. So I am on Amazon Prime, and I have to honestly say that that's where almost all my business is from. I do also sell on eBay. And so now that I have this business going, I have the luxury basically of sitting here in my office, you know, with my printer, and I print stuff almost every day. I started designing stuff. So I have a lot of designs up on a couple of the design websites, and I try to encourage people to print and, you know, get into it. I started fixing things, and just really have enjoyed the 3D printing space.
And I have to say, Barb, you're still the #1. Your schools are the best.
Thank you.
All right, and we have another fabulous lady joining. We have Sam here. So we're just going through introductions right now. We're going to pass it on to Kat to introduce herself, and then we're going to go down the line from there, if that's okay with you gals. And then, yeah, if anyone's got their YouTube, go ahead and pause or mute that, and then we'll be good. And
so shall I start now, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
up.
Yeah, okay, cool. So my name is Katja. I just started 3D printing in February. The first thing I did is I ordered a Delta printer kit and started building it together. And from there, the journey began. And in the meantime, I have built a second printer, which was the Block Zero, and then a third printer joined in, a big one with which I can print 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters. And now I'm also trying to do some CAD design. I just started with Tinkercad, yeah. So working my way up, and I hope in the future I can do some awesome stuff in Fusion 362. And my big goal is that one day I might be able to teach children somewhere at school, or yeah, I don't know. Let's see. But it's a long journey to go. So yeah, it's an exciting journey. And I also want to encourage ladies or girls to start with 3D printing, because nowadays, if we ladies look at our 3D printing channels over on YouTube, I have, for instance, 87% male viewers, and I want to change that a bit, you know. So let's see where the journey goes. Okay, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and Kat has some amazing stuff. She works in dental work. I was telling her I just got a crown, and I told them I wanted it pink, and they told me I couldn't do it. But she said she could have done it for me, so I may have to figure that out. Anyway, let's go to Lauren next. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi guys, I am Lauren from Abuzz Designs. I have a YouTube channel that I turned into 3D printing back in like maybe September or October of last year. I've been printing since January of last year with this machine right here, the FlashForge Creator Pro. I try to show you how to design things from time to time. I also explain the printers I'm using, what I like about them, what I dislike about them. Right now I'm doing a series on glitter filaments and all of the different glitters that you can get, what applications they may be better for. And then I also started an Etsy site, so now I'm also selling some of my designs on Etsy as well.
Okay, Lauren, plug your Instagram so we can please see these wonderful designs, since you're holding them hostage.
I think I saw Lauren's video where you were saying, I'm going to start doing this now.
Yeah, so I just recently started designing some 3D printed mouse ears, and I announced yesterday that as soon as the Instagram page, which is at Abuzz About Ears, gets to 50 followers, I will start releasing some of the designs that I've been working on. They're all sitting right here, so it's going to be really hard for me to not show them, but I have to wait. We're only, I think, like 15 followers away from hitting 50. So as soon as I do, I will release some of those designs.
You sure you can't give us a sneak peek?
I can't. No, I promised that I would not do it until I hit 50. So as soon as I hit 50, I will definitely blast it everywhere.
So as a side note, when you first started, you were sitting on your bed and with like a white wall background, and now you have this printer and all this is great.
Yeah, that was my spare bedroom that I started in, and it wasn't really conducive to any real 3D printing because there was no table there, no nothing. It was literally just a bed and a floor. So now I have this nice office that I'm working in, and it's awesome.
As a side note, my office used to be a bedroom. So, you know, it works. Whatever you got to do.
You gotta do what you got to do.
Get my 3D printer in there.
Very nice. All right, Molly, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, hello. I am part of Neo Portnoy 3D Printing, and I am Molly, and I am on this live stream right now. Yeah.
And we're excited that you're here. That's so awesome.
Yay! I'm excited I'm here too.
All right, Samantha, you are up.
Hello. Is my audio working? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
Awesome. My name's Sam, and I work in CAD support for a living. So I got into 3D printing as a way to transfer all my CAD designs into reality, because it's one of the most direct links to get there. I've got an Etsy shop where I make laser cut jewelry, and I do a lot of 3D printing for fun for my own projects, making wearables and other fun stuff for mostly my friends and anyone else who asks.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I don't know if you guys can see right here. This is my 3D printed purse that I just took to VidCon. And can I just tell you that this was like the most popular thing that was around. And so when we would talk and we'd introduce, we were with Garrett and Chelsea from Chaos Cortec, and we would say, oh, we do 3D printing. And I would hold up my purse and say, this was 3D printed. And it just blew everyone's mind. So I'm going to need a link, Sam, to get some additional wearables so that I can continue on the wearable 3D printing. I love it. All right, Vicky, you're up. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vicky Soma. My YouTube station is Tiga3D. I have a 3D printing blog at www.tgaw.com. I started 3D printing a year before I owned my own 3D printer. I designed in Blender, and I sent my designs out to Shapeways. I will always be in debt to them for empowering me to get involved in this just invigorating world. For my birthday, this is a couple of years ago, my family surprised me with a MakerBot M2, and I thought I loved 3D printing before, and now I really, really love it. And, you know, I've been expanding my collection. I have a Wanhao duplicator i3. And so, you know, nowadays I continue to design in Blender. I also design in OpenSCAD. I also am passionate about teaching, so I've gotten involved with teaching some Tinkercad classes and 3D printing classes to librarians. So, yeah, that's me.
Wait, Vicky, you have birds? I hear birds.
That's Blue-tailed Talon Scream right there. He's my little buddy.
I always like birds because when I went on a field trip this summer and I went to Bee City, and it's like a zoo, but like they teach you all about how they make honey there with their bees. And there's a giant birdhouse. I went in it, and I had bird food. And so there is, just on my hand, there's like 5 on my arm and my hand, and then maybe there's like 4 others, just some reason, pecking at my shoe. Don't know why, but they were just pecking at my shoe, and I had some rips on my shoe afterwards. I like birds, but they can be vicious.
Did you have something delicious on your shoes that they were trying to get?
No.
Huh.
I haven't even had the food yet, and I am scared. It is dark in here. Okay. Wait.
Oh, sorry, gals. I'm trying to add some moderators to the chat. I'm running like 3 different chat windows right now. I'm getting a little confused here. No. All right. So that is our introductions from all of these ladies. Oh, wait. Did we get one more? One more? Oh, I see a new one.
Clarissa.
Clarissa, hi. So go ahead and introduce yourself. You are right on time for your introduction.
Perfect. Sorry, I had some things to take care of. I'm Claire. I make YouTube videos about 3D printing and other things.
You're being very modest right now. And how long have you had a YouTube channel?
Since like March.
For like a minute, and you're amazing. So you're doing good.
Yeah. I mean, I made videos about other stuff before that, but it was just like I just started making videos about 3D printing very recently.
Very cool. So now that we've got a plethora of ladies here, So as some of you may have seen, I reached out to the community via Twitter to get some questions that the community wanted a female perspective on. And so I have a couple that I thought we would kind of talk about, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there, if that's all right. So one of the questions I got, which I thought this is really awesome, My Mini Factory reached out to me, and they asked what the community would like to see in a platform there like theirs, in a, you know, a search or a model sort of website. What would we like to see more of on their platform?
I would like to see them feature more functional printing. So like everybody likes to print, you know, the fun little trinkets and things like that. But I would like them to kind of maybe focus a little bit more on the more functional side of printing, whether it be pieces to fix things or just usable prints. It would kind of just be nice to see things that weren't just trinkets be pushed on that sort of website.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially different ways that you can use 3D printing to integrate with other things. Like 3D printing is great, but if you just have a piece of plastic, that's only going to get you so far. I think the really cool projects that I'd like to see featured on websites like My Mini Factory are projects where people are combining 3D printing with hardware or Arduino or other projects to make something really neat.
Yeah, I think it is hard because on My Mini Factory, and I'll be honest, My Mini Factory isn't my go-to site. I use Thingiverse probably a lot more. And I don't see a lot of things with other technologies, you know, with like Arduino, electronics, things like that. So I kind of have to go out into the community, which isn't a bad thing. But I know on the Friday night stream last night, Chuck was talking about he really wants to start incorporating more electronics on his website. So that might be a cool outlet that's not tapped really like at all.
Anybody use Instructables?
Mm-mm.
That is exactly that. That's a site that has exactly that.
I take it back. I did use an Instructable for the lithophane that I did of Ari. That was somebody linked to an Instructable, and that's what I used to learn how to print that.
From them, like a weekly email, and they're always and it's across the board. They do the Arduino projects and 3D print. They do not only 3D printing, but other things as well. But a lot of it, I'd say a good part of them is 3D printing. So if you haven't checked out that site, I would recommend it.
And then they kind of asked you what categories of objects is your favorite to print from their site.
I tend to like the things that are practical also, like Lauren was saying. So, but for me, you know, practical is stuff I can use in the kitchen. My hobbies, stuff I can use in the garden. Things that I can use around the house, planters and things like that. So those are the things that I can use.
Yeah, I'm just attending this thing on My Mini Factory where I created on Tinkercad this planter pot. So that is something that I can really use. Yeah, and I didn't expect that there would be so much resonance, that people really liked it, because I thought it was a little bit goofy. I called it a Star Trek planter, but the people, they seem to love it. So that's something that I'm going to use practically. Yeah.
Also, Kat, weren't you like last month be like, oh, I haven't designed anything ever, and then you make this beautiful planner? I was like, what the heck? What's she doing?
Yeah, and Kat, how did I know you were designing a skateboard holder. Did that pan out how you anticipated it would?
Clarissa, she tried to print it and I printed it too, but I think I have to make the mouth deeper because I don't own any skateboard and I don't know how big the mouth has to be. So the wheels, you can hang in the wheels, so it's a little bit dumb. But maybe I'm gonna finish it. Who knows? Let's see.
I thought about you the other day because I kind of want something like that for Nick's open RC cars to hang on the side of the cabinet that's over here. So I thought about talking with you about how you made it and things like that, because I would love to. So I don't have open RC cars just hanging out on the desk here. They can have their own little place.
I was really hoping to
Go ahead, Molly.
I was hoping to see the finished model of the skateboard holder, though. It looked cool.
I
But
can
guess
I can share it with you. It's really goofy. It's on Tinkercad. I think if you look at my profile there, I think you can find it. I think I made it official there. It's not hidden anymore. Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody use more than one site for uploading their designs?
I use them all.
Yeah, I upload to 3. Are you so you use more than 3, Lauren?
Yeah, I use 4. I use My Mini Factory, Thingiverse, PinShape, and Cults 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the 4 that I use.
Those are the. I actually have one design up on My Mini Factory. I think actually I looked at them maybe a year and a half ago, and then I looked at them again this morning, and they've been working pretty hard. So it's they I think also have more of a Europe. I mean, they do multi. They seem to be out of all of them more multi, more global.
More global than like Thingiverse or other.
Yeah, because if you look at you can pick what language you want to have the pages translated into, like English, French, German. What's that? Spanish? So it's more European, I guess.
What I like about My Mini Factory is that they prove if your design is printable, and it takes about a day or half a day or day, and then they give you the okay that your design is printable, and then they upload it officially to the website, so it's visible. Yeah, so I think that's good, because you can spend hours and hours on printing something and then find out that it's not really printable because it's not watertight or the design has some flaws. And this is what I like about My Mini Factory.
But yeah, that seems to be the one thing I go towards My Mini Factory more than other ones for, is if I know I'm searching for a complicated model. If I know it's going to be complicated, I want to make sure that it's printed. And I know that if it's from My Mini Factory, it's printable.
Okay, ladies, I'm sold. I have to go there now.
Peace out. Look up the sun. I'm usually on Uimagine and Thingiverse.
My dad uses multiple. The only ones I think that I know that he actually uses is PinShape, Thingiverse, and My Mini Factory. But I actually think I've only done like one model, which is surprising, but I see my dad do it all the time. I tried to 3D print a kitty, and the leg kept falling off, and it kept breaking off, and I got so mad because I liked it, because it was like a stretching kitty, and it kept breaking off, and so I don't think my dad ever super glued it again. But I've only used Thingiverse because, I mean, it's the most popular for me right now, because I'm like, that was the
first one, actually. Thingiverse might have been the first one.
It was the first one I ever found about. And then my dad said My Mini Factory, and then he began to talk about PinShape, and then, yeah.
My thing is that I have another site that I was using that actually approached me and asked me to print some of their models, and I won't name them, but half of their models didn't print. So I really actually appreciate the fact that My Mini Factory does that. That I didn't know that. I hadn't researched a whole lot about it, but that's a serious, that's a total thing. It's so frustrating. Like you said, Kat, you download this model, you're like, yeah, it's going to be great. And then it doesn't print. And you're like, oh, did I do something wrong in the settings? Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. So that's cool. I'm sold, ladies. I'm going to My Mini Factory now.
I once downloaded something. It was like a bowl, but it was a solid. And I actually started printing it, and I mean, that was a rookie mistake. I didn't realize it until it was going along for a while. I'm like, wait a minute, where's the bowl? And it was a solid that's an example of downloading a print that's not really printable.
All right.
Hey, in the chat, 3D Printed Aspie is saying that he has his Thingiverse and his PinShape linked, so he just uploads it one. And it goes to the other place, which I didn't know that was a thing. So that's good to know.
Yeah, that's what I do too, so that I don't have to actually upload them to both. And it doesn't go backwards from PinShape to Thingiverse, I don't think. But if you upload to Thingiverse, it will search for them and upload it to PinShape.
Has anybody ever gotten tipped on any of these sites?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thingiverse I have a couple times.
Yeah. They actually keep it pretty. I think I got a $3 tip and it ended up being $2.60.
One thing that I want to mention here, since you brought that up, if you have made any changes to your Thingiverse profile anytime recently, and you are set up to accept tips, please go back and double check to make sure that it is still there. I guess there was a glitch in the programming, and somehow it was deleting any email address that was linked to PayPal. So if you are set up on Thingiverse with PayPal, go and double check it if you've made any changes to your profile anytime in the recent past.
I will tell Travis that, or hopefully he's listening, so he will know that as well.
What's the advantage of like cross-listing your models? Is it just so that more of them are out there?
More people.
Yeah, certain people only look on certain sites. So if, you know, like if you were only putting something on My Mini Factory, for example, Heather may have never found it because she wasn't searching on My Mini Factory. So just further reach.
When you guys share your models, do you just share the STL or do you actually share the CAD for people to download and edit?
STL. Mine are pretty.
I've done a couple things in OpenSCAD, and with that, I would send the source file as well. You know, because a lot of things I put variables on, so they can tweak it and change their clearances if they need to. And I don't know, it's sort of nice and geeky and nerdy to look at the code.
Okay, so I've been listening, and I think I know a lot about 3D printing. I guess I don't. Okay, so I've been listening, and I'm really confused. Like, I don't really know what instructables are. I don't know what you meant by that. And now you're saying something about OpenSCAD. I'm like, do you mean CAD? I'm really confused.
Oh, okay. OpenSCAD is just another kind of modeling software like Tinkercad or Blender. It's a little bit of a different approach. Instead of dragging and dropping the objects, you're actually typing in commands. You're like, I'm going to make a cube, and it's going to be 10 millimeters wide and 10 millimeters high. You can put in variables. So it's like, it's programming. So you can make your objects with code.
This is
and Instructables. You haven't done what?
Yet.
I'm just looking at Instructables now, and they have a beginner 3D printing class, and there's 4 lessons. And actually, there are 4 YouTube. A live demo of the stamp project, covers the sculpt tools, and you know. So I think Instructables is more of a how to do something versus SCAD, which is the actual tool to do it.
Now with Instructables though, is it kind of like a Wikipedia style thing where anybody can post to it? Because the article that I found about lithophanes seemed to be just from someone within the community. It didn't really seem like it was from a company putting that out. Does anyone know about that?
Yeah, it's a community based.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it was super helpful. Oh, look, see, here's my coffee delivery.
Have to bring the mob boss their coffee.
Coffee delivery. Maybe if I text my mom.
Oh,
Is it Starbucks?
It is
Hi,
Starbucks.
Ari.
And there's Ari.
Hi.
Hi, Ari. Hello.
Everyone's saying hi.
Hi.
So Ari's been, she hasn't been doing a lot of 3D printing, but we downloaded this new app called Jazza's Arty Games. Yeah. And basically what it does is it's a randomizer, and it tells you, it gives you a topic of something to draw. And then it has a timer, and you draw in that amount of time. So Ari, we have pictures everywhere of the most random things. Like right next to me, I have an elf. What is it? An elf who is part animal petting a bear. So that's what we've been up to in our house.
That's so weird. That's cool.
All right, everyone says hi. You can't hear them. I can only hear them.
I can.
I have to drop out now because, as I told you, I'm at a friend's house, and at least I could join in for this half an hour, and I will watch this stream later at home. So I just want to say bye-bye to everybody and have a nice time, huh? Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Kat.
Bye. I'm
Thanks
gonna
for
miss you.
coming.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun with your friends. All right, so I was just checking in this chat here. Give me a sec, gals. Oh, we were talking about, Spoke Avril says he appreciates that all of us are watching intently, watching when everyone else is talking, because we're paying attention.
Is what you do. Pay attention.
Exactly. Oh, and Ryan says that we're much more organized than the guys. So
That's
we appreciate
good.
that.
What guys? The guys that I hang out with on Friday night?
I know. I was like, you were there
It's
last
not all
night.
guys.
It's not all guys. See? Okay,
Wait,
so
you did a live stream last night?
they did the Friday night live stream.
Yeah, every 2 weeks we have a Friday night community live stream, and everybody's open to join, women and men. And your dad actually comes on every now and then.
Oh.
Yeah, the only downside is it's super late if you're East Coast.
What time is it?
It starts at 10.
Starts 10 Eastern.
Yep.
And it goes way past. I mean, I'll
like
jump off at midnight or 1, and they'll keep going.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, a lot of my customers are from out west. I'm surprised because I actually, if I sell to somebody in New York State, I have to pay sales tax, so I kind of track that a little bit. And I'm just amazed at how many people from out west order. It seems like just by looking at my sales, the West Coast seems to be more active in 3D printing. I don't know.
West Coast.
Yeah.
And then in the chat, we have a question. So they're saying that they don't see any Delta printers in the background, and our opinions on that. And I know actually Kat just left and she has a Delta printer and she loves it. And so they're saying that their daughter likes to make artistic things like statues, and that the Deltas are supposed to be faster. And so they'd like our opinion on that.
I'm wishing I had a bigger printer.
I don't have a Delta, but I really want one.
What's that?
I don't have a Delta, but I really want one. It's on the list.
Is there a really reliable Delta printer? A lot of them are kits, and so I know I've kind of strayed away from them because I want something that's going to work reliably, or that something's well documented, so it's really easy to find good tips and fixes for it.
I've heard nothing but good things about the See Me CNC ones, and I know that their support is really good, but I don't have one, so I can't say whether or not I had a good or bad experience with it.
I think Delta's pretty popular, though, isn't it? I've seen a lot of people seem to have them.
I think they're getting more popular, possibly because of the kit factor. Excuse me. I know that See Me CNC sells them both put together and as a kit, so you can get them either way. I think that they look cooler when they're printing. To see the arms moving around, I think it's neater looking than, say, just a standard FDM, especially an FDM printer that's in a box like the Ultimaker. Not, believe me, we love our Ultimaker, but it's neat even to me. We have the CR10, and to see it moving around while it's printing, I think it's kind of neat to watch. But yeah, I know Kat has hers. She put hers together and she has really liked it. And I think that they're getting, they're kind of coming up more and more in the community. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I'm getting behind on the chat, you guys. So kind of as we were talking about models and places where you can download models and things like that, there was another question that was asking about additive manufacturing and asking whether or not you can really make a living doing that. Now, I know Vicky prints a lot and sells a lot of her prints. She designs her own. Is that something?
nowhere near quitting my day job. I'm a computer programmer, and that's quite lucrative. I was in the black last year with my 3D printing business, but not counting labor. Like if you counted my labor, if I was paying myself, yeah, no way. But you know, I've paid off my printers, paid off my filament, paid off business licensing, tables and stuff like that, and still had, you know, enough money where I can consider buying a Form 2, but I never really, you know, like followed through with that. But I think you just with like any craft, if you love your hobby, I think there's an opportunity to bring in some extra income. Sam, I would venture to think that maybe you even have more success with the type of stuff that you sell on Etsy.
Yeah, actually, I've done more laser cutting on Etsy, but on the topic of 3D printing, additive manufacturing as a career, there's lots of opportunities for people. I know I used my cupcake that I built way back in the day when they first came out to get myself an internship with a rapid prototyping lab. So even if it's not, you know, making a living based on printing things for yourself, there's lots of ways to turn that experience into something that's really relevant in a lot of places, because any place that makes hardware runs into a lot of the same challenges that you understand when you're working with 3D printing.
I will chime in and say that a bulk of my income does come from kind of custom work and trainings and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess, oh, you can come in and say hi, little love. I got my little 3D printing nerd fan here. Hi, Sagan, you want to say hi? Okay. But yeah, with 3D printing, you know, because it is a slow process, as we're aware, it's not great for mass producing things. So if you do have a design that's a hit, you know, it may be more economical to get it produced a different way than 3D printing every single one.
So yeah, I know Lauren's selling so much more now on Etsy. She's doing quite a bit. In fact, Nick is saying that you are having to, you know, kind of make sure you have enough room there at the house to store all the cash that you're making.
Right. Yeah, not quite that far, but I did pay off an entire printer. Like Vicki said, I paid off all my business expenses. And so it's been a good hobby project where I no longer feel like I'm basically spending money on my hobby. My hobby is now paying for itself. If at some point I can make it into a full-time job, you better believe I will in a heartbeat. But I wouldn't say I'm quite at that point, but I do see the possibility of it.
Yeah, we were doing more 3D printed things like via Etsy before, and it was when we only had one printer. And so I could see if you had more printers, especially printers that you had really dialed in and you could kind of have them where they were printing all the time, that might be more lucrative. It was really hard for us to keep up with supply and demand. Then we also ran into licensing issues for the things that we were printing, and so we kind of stepped away. We're more like with Sam, we do more laser cutting things on our Etsy store. It's so much faster than the 3D printing versions of things. So that's kind of more where we're at. But
seen some really amazing work. There's a couple of companies I follow on Instagram that do all the cosplay, the costumes, and I imagine that that's pretty lucrative. But you also, not only are you 3D printing it, but you are also doing a lot of finishing. They will take these, you know, finished things and paint them and finish them, and they look amazing. And I imagine that that's a pretty big community. If you were good at 3D printing and had a big printer, that you could probably make some pretty decent money with that.
Yeah, we were actually talking with Bill Durand from Punish Props last week at VidCon, and we were talking about specifically about using 3D printing in the cosplay community. And he said specifically for full cosplay costumes, he had to move away from that because, for one, the cost associated with it, it seems to be with 3D printing and selling, unless you're selling something that's easy to mass produce, you're never getting paid enough for what you're doing. The amount of labor, the time, the design, you're never getting paid what you should be. And he basically just had to step away, especially because in cosplay, you know, you're thinking more of a custom item and you're having to fit the person, you're having to get exactly how they're wanting it. And it was just way too much. He's like, I can't handle that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think cosplay or maybe cosplay items. So I saw some like really cool Wonder Woman headbands and even just like the cuffs, pieces of cosplay, I think are great to utilize 3D printing and maybe in a mass selling format, but not a whole costume. I just can't see that being good. I mean, it's awesome, but
forget what it's called, like foam. There's some foam something that it seems like a lot of the cosplay people use for their costumes. I don't know what the material is. But.
I think Bill kind of said he'll use whatever he can get his hands on. They use their videos are amazing. And I've seen them use foam, 3D printing, casting like silicone. They do all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. Getting back to a little bit with the question, my comment was going to be, how much do you think we're going to see? Because when I was looking at more about specific additive manufacturing, it was talking a lot about toys and selling toys. And, you know, I think that there's the portion like what Chelsea and Garrett at Chaos Core Tech do, where they design everything and they post-process everything themselves. But I was reading an article about Disney and how they're actually coming up with a new patent for a material that cannot be scanned by a 3D scanner so that people cannot 3D scan and then mass produce knockoff toys. Is that something you think that's going to be really prominent, or do you think that that's prominent now even? Because that's kind of what I wondered, was like, is that something that's even really happening? I mean, maybe, obviously I'm not doing that in my backyard, but.
So being the Disney nerd that I am, I have searched on all of the websites to find Disney items. And I have to say the ones that are scanned are very obvious and they're very poor quality. And I think there's only a handful of people doing it. I think really more frequently, it's the very talented designers who are recreating objects like Garrett and Chelsea. I think that is more what you're seeing, but I don't necessarily think that Disney wants to admit that that's the case. I think they're grasping at straws. And I also think that what they're coming out with would kind of be, I don't want to say a waste, but all you would have to do really is code it in something and suddenly it's perfectly 3D scannable. So I think I understand why they're doing it, but I don't necessarily think that that is the correct route to go on their part.
So in the chat, they're asking about the production limitations, like kind of what we were talking about, you know, being able to keep up with the supply and demand of even, you know, your spinners, Lauren. That do you think something like the printer belt or the black belt 3D printer would help with that?
It depends. On certain, yes. But some of my items, similar, I know Vicky does this a lot too, have embedded pieces in them, and that you're going to have to pause the print no matter what, and which means you have to be there to pause it or have to be there to restart it once you embed something. So in that case, no. But if there are items, you know, like for example, the ears I'm working on, yes, that would be beneficial, assuming people wanted them in the same color, which I think is one of the biggest problems, is if you're offering things in multiple colors, now you have to switch the filament. So if you had a run of an order of 10 items and they were all the same color, then yes, something like the printer belt would definitely be helpful. But if you've got 10 orders and all of the orders are in 10 different colors, then suddenly that is not helpful at all.
Have there been some people who do like, I guess they scan it for every single Disney movie or show that comes out? Like they find something that kids would find enjoyable and then I guess they scan it and then 3D print it? Because that sounds really cool, but I'm guessing it's bad. Because like the way I'm trying to understand this so much because y'all are talking so fast and I'm just like, what?
So basically what's happening? So what's happening, Molly, is somebody is getting say somebody bought this at a Disney store, or this is DreamWorks, so at a Warner Brothers store, I think is DreamWorks. Anyway, so say somebody bought this at a store, and then they took a camera and scanned it, either by taking a ton of photos going all the way around or using an actual scanner, turning it into a printable file. That is what
now I
trying
get
to
it.
avoid from happening, rather than somebody actually creating the model itself, which is what this person actually did. They didn't buy it. They created the file using modeling programs, which I think is more frequently what is happening, not the scanning side of things.
Like the
Do
one.
any of you guys do it?
I have never scanned anything. I've only ever modeled my own things.
So don't
I've
you?
scanned myself. And my children. My children, not so good.
I guess that would be a really big print. Take a couple of days, but that'd be a really big print to print somebody.
It just printed like me like that.
But
There's actually a place here where you can get yourself scanned and they'll print it for you. I'm not sure if they're still. They were in Palo Alto for a little bit. It was pretty cool.
That would be awesome. Okay, so now I need a little Vicky doll like this big to put on my desk.
you got, so the creepy way to do it is get someone to 3D print you a mini version of Vicky.
Exactly.
And then someone has to be very closely related to get some of her hair. Hopefully you're not listening. And then you glue it on the doll. And then you paint the doll. And then it's Vicky doll.
I think Molly's talking about making a voodoo doll, and I don't know about all that. We're not that kind of stream.
I don't think you can do a voodoo doll 3D printed because usually you just stab it with needles. Okay, that's violent. I should not have said that on the internet. But that's what I learned from practicing the
Oh, that's what a voodoo doll is. So you're okay.
And then we had in the chat, some people were talking about the foam. It was like foam mats, or there's Plazitote foam, different types of foam that you can use for cosplaying. I know we were talking about that. Some people in the chat were mentioning that if you put powder over a print, it will allow it to be, or over a toy, it'll allow it to be scanned anyways, which I think Travis and I were kind of talking about that you know, there's going to be a workaround somehow with that, as far as not being able to scan things. Although, like you said, I mean, I've never scanned anything. I think we downloaded an app on our phone one time and tried to do it, and it wasn't fabulous. And so I was kind of like, I have other things I need to do.
We have an old Kinect from the Xbox 360 so that we can use that to scan, but we haven't, every time we've tried it, it hasn't turned out really well. So we've kind of put it off to the side and haven't really focused on it. So that's why I'm saying, like, I feel like the problem is more often people recreating their designs, not so much people scanning their exact items.
Yeah, I mean, scan data is not very usable if you're going to use it for anything to make, because you're just getting basically the same thing of an STL, except a lot messier. So if you're going to use it for anything, if you want to print a clean part, you end up remodeling it anyways.
Well, and I feel like it would be really cool for something like, sorry, this is side thing, because Chelsea does wedding cakes. So I was thinking, what if you 3D or scanned like the bride and groom, and they could have a customized cake topper? That would be super cool. But then again, you run into the time, the money, all of that it would take to do all that. And how many people are really going to pay for all of that? To, how worth it is it going to be to somebody to pay to have a customized wedding topper or a customized, I don't know. Yeah, I don't foresee it being super popular.
Actually, there's one company, what are they called? Creation Bay, I think. They do words for cake toppers, like, Fabulous 40 or in script. And I think they've painted them with glitter. And I said, hey, you should use the Proto Pastas Glitter PLA. But so they do something with the cake toppers that's a little bit more, easier to produce on a 3D printer. So just that's an idea.
Yeah, that's cool. I have seen that with the words, and we actually did some for my cousin's wedding. We did some number, like on steaks where it had, Barb, I've seen some that you've done like that, like drink things. And
right now, I just, for the party that we're going to today, they're little pigs on sticks. So they're going to, I haven't uploaded the design yet, but they're pig. And so this was just the way I did these were, I downloaded an SVG file and see a little pig pics. Downloaded an SVG file and then imported it into Tinkercad and then added the toothpick onto it. So that was so I make a lot of those because they're pretty easy to do. And they're great conversation starters when you go to a party. You know, hey, look, I 3D printed this little thing, and then people ask, you know, still a lot of people don't know much about 3D printing.
That's what we're here for. That's an amazing segue into our other portion of our conversation. Was I kind of wanted to talk about, and we've kind of been talking about in the community is getting out there into the community. And well, first let's start with, so because I can personally say here in our town, and we live near the state capitol in Sacramento, and I don't know of any maker spaces around here. And I don't even know that our local library has a 3D printer. I can probably say that in Sacramento, they probably do have 3D printers at the libraries there, but do you guys have maker spaces? And Claire, we already know you work at one, so that's amazing. But in your town, do they have maker spaces that you've been to or reached out to at all?
Yes, actually, it's not in my town, but it's in Columbia, about 3 hours from here. It was in the museum when I went to the mini maker fair there. It was cool. I got to make so what they did, I was soldering there. I think I've already mentioned this, but it was like I burned myself, but then it went away, and I'm like, how do I burn myself when there's no mark? It's so confusing. It's like, I feel this, and then like, what's in there?
So one thing I've learned from these community live streams is how spoiled I am. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm about 35 miles south of D.C. And a lot of our schools already have 3D printers. We have maker spaces. We have 3D engineering camps that do like STEM summer camps for kids. So we have quite a bit, and we have some college campuses that have their own maker spaces. Virginia Tech and UVA have a Northern Virginia campus, and they have a big maker space. George Mason University. We have Nova Labs. We have Tack Shop. So one thing I will point out is some of those maker spaces that are in my area, they're run by women, and the printers are maintained by women. So, you know, Lawrence mentioned before that there are other women in 3D printing besides what you see on YouTube, and I can personally attest to that because I have a lot of offline women friends in 3D printing who are involved with the maker spaces.
I know I was sad. I was really hoping you had mentioned a gal that you know that does.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I've talked her up. Now she's not going to come.
Yeah, well, you know, she's the general manager of Tech Shop in Arlington, D.C. area now, and I think she had to work today.
I just found out that a local library of ours has a 3D printer this morning. I found out. I had no idea. It's not the library that's in my town, but it's one town over. So I'm going to go talk to them. They actually sell 3D prints there. I don't know if they actually do outreach though, or if they just have it in case people want to buy prints. So I am looking forward to talking with them. There are a couple of maker spaces in the Portland, Maine area, which is about 50-ish minutes to an hour from here. So I have not been to them because it's a little hard to justify driving 2 hours to go to a maker space. So we'll see. I would like to at some point, but they're pretty pricey around here as well. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to make it up to one, but otherwise there's not really a whole lot directly around us in little tiny small town Maine.
Now, Claire, can you tell us a little bit? Because I don't know that I've heard the story. I don't know that you've actually talked about. How did you end up working at the makerspace that you're at currently?
So the makerspace I work in is part of where I go to school. And basically, actually, it opened, and I'm like, I really want to learn about 3D printing. So when it opened, I went in there, I'm like, hey, can I work with a 3D printer? So like, we don't really know how to use them right now, so just figure it out. And I just hung out there until they started paying me.
I like that option. I need to do that.
It's the best way to get a job is just hang out until you, because right now, nobody knows how to use a 3D printers but me, so they can't fire me. It's perfect.
But so we were kind of talking about that too, is so now do you feel like because you're the only person that knows how to do it, are they like calling you when you're not there? Are they, or is it? So we were talking about it. Do you have people volunteer at the makerspace or come in who want to help out?
Not really. Part of the problem is like people don't really know it exists because it's kind of just like in this building kind of off to the side. I don't know. It's like set up weird. It's not really. It's not even like really open to everyone who goes to school there. It's like very, very select group, and I just like weaseled my way in there. I know.
I was gonna say with the maker spaces, until I started 3D printing, I was totally unaware of the maker spaces. So there's a certain level, like in you're saying, nobody is tucked off in the corner and nobody knows about it, kind of thing. There's a big maker space near me, and I thought they use like drills and table saws and stuff like that. I didn't know they had 3D printers, but they do. Sorry, keep on going, Clarissa.
Oh no, you're good. I don't remember this. I think near me there's one makerspace that's like 20 minutes away that I've never been to because it's open when I'm at work. But then I know there's another one that is not like a makerspace. It's like a makerspace except they run all the machines and you pay them to do stuff. So it's more of like I don't even know what that would call. It's like a place you get things printed for you, essentially.
So it's like almost like a Shapeways, but a local, like a storefront for 3D printing.
Yeah, and they have like a laser cutter and a CNC machine and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about the makerspaces. I know, obviously, I can't imagine at a library them having a CNC machine or a laser cutter. I think that there's probably enough liability already with just having a 3D printer there. So that's what's cool about the makerspace. And apparently I got called out in the chat already that there is some makerspaces here in Sacramento that apparently I need to go and check out. So I'll be doing that. Oh yeah, and Millibeen says it's like 3D printing Kinko's. You take your job in there and they print it for you. So Ryan was asking, how important do you think it is to add for art into the STEM and make it STEAM to where art is more included in that program as well, not just having the science and technology version, adding the art aspect to it?
I mean, so much of engineering is fueled by creativity. If we don't include art, then we can make whatever we want, but will it be useful? Will it be creative? Will it be kind of interesting enough to be worth existing? I think art is like integral to anything people design, regardless of if it's meant to be functional, if it's meant to be art.
Well, I think too, when you're first starting out, I was just watching Joel's stream Joel had last night, and there was someone in his chat who was asking, how can I convince my parents to let me get a 3D printer? And he said, it's hard. You can't really tell them, I want to print a bunch of Pokemon, and can I get a 3D printer? And so he said, do it like you're going to run a business. Say, oh, I'm going to design these fidget spinners, and then I'm going to turn around and sell them at school to my friends. And, I think that is such a big part of it, the design portion, the artistic portion, especially with kids, I feel like, because it starts, they're already doing art in school. So it's just transferring that art from maybe, glue sticks and construction paper to using something like Tinkercad and making those designs in a program. And then I think being able to physically print them out is the amazing part. Kids just go berserk about that. So.
Yeah, I think
You go.
Oh, I think for me, like I always liked making things, and so like 3D printing, laser cutting is just like the natural extension of that. And I don't really see that I'm like, oh, now I'm doing engineering, like this isn't art anymore. Like it's still just like me making crafts. I'm just like making more advanced crafts now.
But it's super awesome crafts.
I just get so much satisfaction after, you know, if I design something or make something and print it and use it. And I mean, I was thinking I should do a YouTube video and just walk around my house and, you know, video all the things I've 3D printed within the last 2 years that I'm still using.
That would be cool. I think a lot of people have trouble coming up with inspiration for how to use 3D printing. That's why those websites we were talking about earlier are so important in the process. Like, that's another good way to further integrate art is to communicate with other artists and makers like we're doing now and find out what we're doing.
Yeah, Nilla Bean's saying in the chat that he's all for including art, but he would like to see it integrated and not a distraction from the STEM elements of the programs. And I think that's great, even like with the stuff Barb does with, you know, using an artistic touch to a functional print. So something for the kitchen or even Vicky, you know, your drawer pulls, you know, something that is definitely a functional item. And, you know, I mean, I'm not saying it's curing brain science or anything like that, but it's still a functional item. But then it can be artistic too. So I think that's definitely something that's awesome. And I think kids feed off that stuff. Kids feed off of art. And I mean, my kid, look, she's drawing elves that are part animals that are petting a bear. And she would love to see that 3D printed. She would think that was amazing.
So we were talking about genius the other day, and I think the genius is, they say the true genius, you've got the two sides of your brain, and the artsy side of the real genius person can take the artsy side creativity and apply it to the real intellectual thing. So it's two sides of your brain from what I was told. So, I mean, if you're going to use your whole brain, wouldn't that be better than just using part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually just typing that in the chat. I agree with Nilla a little bit, but at the same time, I heavily disagree. I think that it is really important to focus just as much on art as there is to focus on all of the other STEM fields, because they really feed off of each other. And a lot of people, I feel like, don't quite understand that. I'm a very artistic person. I always have been. I've also been lucky enough to always have a very analytical brain where I've always excelled in math and science. But without the art, I would never have been able to do the things I do today. And without having that creative outlet to help me understand how my brain works, I wouldn't have been able to work through some of the problems that I've had. I really think it's important to have all of them be an integral part and be taught together, or even separate, but all be focused on the same amount.
Well, and like when we were talking about, and that's why I was really hoping that Vicky, your friend, was going to be able to come in, because, well, and actually somebody mentioned earlier they were doing some like lesson plans and classes, because so we talked about doing a program at RE school. They do enrichment after school programs, and they have one that's like Lego robotics, and they have one that's a Minecraft design class. So my thoughts were doing something where, you know, you can teach the kids about 3D modeling through something as easy as Tinkercad, and then working through the process of using the artistic, or even having them maybe start by drawing something on a piece of paper, then moving from that to designing that drawing in Tinkercad, to moving to printing it on the 3D printer. And so, you know, over the course of the program, they would learn all those different steps, not focusing on one specific thing, but kind of learning all of it over. And then they're learning about how the 3D printing works, how the design program works. And I just think it would be so cool. And it's teaching them so much more than just, like we're saying, you know, a glorified art class or a 3D printing class where they don't really know the basis of all of it. So that was kind of my idea, but I don't know how hard it would be to actually implement that.
The lesson plans you're talking about, was that maybe Design Make Teach? I think he has some lesson plans up on his website and blog that are geared towards 3D printing projects.
Maybe that was it. I know too, I was talking with Mara from Matter Hackers, and Ultimaker actually has a community-based website where teachers can submit their lesson plans. So I need to really kind of go out, and I want to research more, because I think a lot of that stuff is geared more towards college age or high school age kids, and we need to be able to break it down for like a 4th or 5th grade level. But I like the idea of starting at, you know, an artistic point, having them draw something, and then going from there. I think it would be cool, and they would learn about so many different things, not just one, you know, not just about modeling, or not just about 3D printing, or not just about art.
So before we move off of this topic, I do want to thank Ryan, because he just finally made something click for me. Over here in my office, I have a autographed picture of Kirk Vonnegut, Maker Gear M2. And I thought it was there just because I like Kirk Vonnegut. It didn't really have anything to do with 3D printing. But one of the things that Kirk Vonnegut felt passionately about is the humanities. They feed our soul, the arts and writing and photography and, you know, just creating. He would encourage people to create, even if you're creating badly. He would say that that was good for your soul. And I'm a 3D printer. You know, I'm a computer programmer. I love math. I think very analytically like Lauren, but I think also the creativity feeds me. And so, you know, just to back to Ryan's question, I think that A is extremely important in STEAM and STEM, and it's extremely important for us as human beings.
It always leads to that aha moment, right? You just had one.
Yeah, I'm listening, I'm like, that's why I have Kirk Vonnegut there.
So real quick, while we're talking on that topic, or actually, sorry, let me ask Claire again real quick. Are there any sort of lesson plans, or is the makerspace kind of just a free for all, people come in and do whatever they want to do?
Yeah, so that's actually what my job is that I write lesson plans for 3D printing.
And have you had any classes with that as of yet?
No, because it's only been like, I've only been doing it for like the past 3 months, and now obviously we're on break. I mean, at some point I want to have a class, and you mean just like a workshop basically, you know, 2 or 3 hours. I think we'll use them. I know there's a few of my friends who I've like made them go through the curriculum. Kind of the idea is that there's like a curriculum that's like mine is like 5 lessons or something. And then you do that, and then once you kind of pass, you know, you pass the test essentially, then you can kind of do whatever you want past there. But it's kind of just those beginning lessons, like how the 3D printer works and whatnot.
I'm doing a workshop for high schoolers in 2 weeks, and I'm working on the lesson plan now. So if you guys have good ones, send them my way.
Okay, Sam, then I'm coming to you when I need mine for my my school that we're doing that. Well, and I wanted to even do it simpler than that. Maybe not necessarily, well, even still getting Ari, you know, Ari's going to be in 1st grade, and all of the STEM classes that are at her school, or the enrichment programs sort of around the STEM topics, are all for older kids. Is anyone familiar with any for younger kids? I mean, I know there's private programs, I'm sure camps and things like that have that available, but anything like in a school system for even younger kids?
Like elementary school, or you mean like preschool?
Not necessarily preschool, but yeah, elementary school. Because at our elementary school, they restrict the STEM programs or the enrichment programs to 4th and 5th graders. So they don't allow 3rd, you know, and below to participate in those. And I don't know if it's a liability factor, or I'm not really sure why they don't allow the younger kids to do it.
Let's see. Let me look this up. There's a group in San Francisco I was just talking about that has educational programs for young girls, and I think it's elementary school level. They're called Kira, K-I-R-A, and they have some that are geared towards younger audiences.
I'm looking it up. Or I wrote it down.
Warning, they've got music on their site apparently. But yeah,
Yeah,
they have programs for more elementary school age, I'm pretty sure.
Nice. I'll have to look into that.
Space workshop in San Francisco.
So we'll ask Molly. Molly, how do you learn all of your 3D printing just through your dad and through the community, or do you have anything at school? I don't know. Molly, what grade are you in?
I'm going into middle school.
Oh, okay. And do they have anything for 3D printing or design or anything like that in your school, or have they in the past?
Never.
Well, we need to tell your dad to get on it.
They've had science clubs, but they have a robotics club and they program robots, but I don't know how to get into that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's been the popular one at our school too, is they do Lego robotics. So it's where they use Legos, they build the robot, and then they program the robot to move. And it's like a 6-week program they do once a week. But nothing with 3D printing or even design. Well, I take that back. They do have the Minecraft design where you can model your own Minecraft worlds. But
I forgot what it's called, but like I think it's kind of what you're talking about. So they have this website. I forgot what it's called because I haven't been on it in a while. So like it's like a command website where you learn how to type in commands. And like you have to put in like move left, and then move right or something to get the character to move. And it's like really fun because they have like Minecraft, Frozen, Star Wars, Angry Birds, all sorts of ones on there. And I don't know why the name's blanking on me. I used to do that all the time.
Like Turtle or something? Isn't it like a beginning programming? Turtle? No.
I don't know.
I know what you're talking about, Barb. The logo turtle. That's from, like for the older generations will remember that.
Something. That's probably to teach computer programming though, right? Because you're doing steps in a particular order and then it follows those steps.
yeah, that's kind of what I felt like the stuff that's being offered that I'm seeing is more geared towards, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's definitely something that's going to, Nillabean's talking in the chat about how his perspective on STEM it's from seeing classes that his sisters are taking, and they're very much art driven, not as much technically driven. And so they're kind of not really getting the STEM out of STEM. They're not getting anything that's going to help them in the future. And I think coding is huge. I think that's totally huge because so much revolves around coding, but I still think there's something to be learned for the designing portion, and then knowing how that works in conjunction with like 3D printing or other types of machining, I think is a cool thing that kids can get into.
I even think some of these where you have to assemble. The first time I actually printed one of those open RC cars, and that was my first really difficult project. And I mean, you learn a lot by just even with that. So I would encourage people that are doing 3D printing, again, not to just print a figurine necessarily. I mean, to print something that you have to assemble.
Ooh, you're scaring me, Barb. I just started my open RC car and I'm a little frightened about it. I told Daniel, I said, I know nothing about this. I can print it and I can follow directions. So I'm excited to learn more about that because we haven't done anything with that kind of stuff. So I'm excited.
What do you
feel accomplished when you finish it? Mine works. I never bought the engine to put inside of it though.
Oh, see, you got to do it all. Go big or go home, Barb. Come on. Okay, so I do have a couple other questions from the community that we didn't get a touch on, and I'd like to talk about them if it's okay, if you gals are game. I know we talked a lot about kind of education, and I think that's awesome, but I wanted to ask these too. Ooh, hopefully, whatever that's going on in the background, everyone's all right. So somebody asked, this is in regards to SLA printing, and with the falling prices of SLA printers and higher resolution printers. Wait, let me see. Oh, now I can't even read my question. Please hold. With the falling price of SLA, they'd be interested in knowing, is the time loss worth the improved detail of a 2.5 nozzle? So is it, what do you think is better? Do you think you're going to get a better print with an SLA printer versus like a 0.25 nozzle that you're printing really slow, or printing at a lower or a higher resolution?
I think it kind of depends on what you're hoping to get out of the print itself. I mean, if you're wanting to finish it, it may be more beneficial to go SLA, like Garrett and Chelsea have for some instances, because there's less sanding that you're going to have to do and you'll get great detail. If you're not looking for that and you just want to be able to get all the detail on a print, then maybe you are better off going with a 0.25 nozzle. It's something that Garrett and I actually talked about. We were both at the Fuse event down at Formlabs. We did chat about that a little bit because I thought it was kind of an interesting thought. And I do have a 0.2, I think mine's just a 0.2 nozzle. I don't know. I've got a really tiny nozzle that I really want to test that out, but I need to get my hands on a SLA print so that I can print the same thing and compare and contrast the two to see if I do feel like it is actually worth it. But I'd like to hear if anybody else has had that experience.
So here's a picture of a nozzle. In case, can you flash it up there, or are you?
I
So
see it.
that's
When
the
you
nozzle.
talk, it brings it up.
Oh, okay. So this is the nozzle on the printer, just in case you're wondering. So this whole thing is a print head, but so what we're talking about is the thickness of the nozzle when the film, thickness of the nozzle, the hole in the nozzle.
Yeah, so we're talking about that versus, so a nozzle that will print very fine details or smaller details, because the smaller the nozzle, you print it. And my experience with that is you print it slower. The only experience we really have with using a 0.25 nozzle was when Travis and I did the maker coin tree for Christmas. The coins that we made were pretty small coins, and so we printed them at a with a smaller nozzle so that we could get all of the details. But I mean, I feel like even if we printed those in SLA, it would be way more above, the quality would be above. I mean, of course, I don't know. I've never seen an SLA print in person, so I'm not sure, how smooth it is or what have you. So
I think it depends more on also what you want to print. If you have something that you need to be functional, or if you want plastic, you're going to want to keep with the FDM. But if you have something that's going to be exposed to heat, then avoid SLA. It's not going to be as temperature sensitive. But I've been printing with a 0.25 nozzle all last week to make a really tiny little rake. My friend has a Zen garden. She wanted to make a really small Zen garden in it. So we put on the 0.25 nozzle to see how small we could get the rake to go. It worked well. We printed slow, but the parts were really fragile.
yeah, that's what I would wonder about too. Like what is the heat resistance on something that is look, now I'm getting brought breakfast too.
You don't have to eat this right now, but the stream didn't feel right without bacon, so I brought a lid in case you.
Apparently I need to stream more often because I get coffee and breakfast brought to me. I'm in love with this. But with now I'm all discombobulated. No, with SLA, what is the heat resistance? Is it something similar to PLA? Like if I leave this in my car, is it going to melt? Is it that temperature sensitive?
You can buy. So there's high temp ones, which you'd be fine with, and they'd be similar to like what you have with PLA or ABS. But some of the ones I've worked with, I've made that exact mistake, and I left it in my car, and I came back and had a drooping part.
Oh, was it like a puddle or was it just mushy?
It was an airplane, so it had wings out, and now my wings are drooped.
That doesn't sound good. Yeah, I wonder about that too. I guess it really kind of does all depend. Definitely, Chelsea's yelling in the chat. Definitely say it's for post processing. SLA is definitely the way to go because it's just way too much on an FDM printer for, especially like the higher resolution or high detail models that they do, it takes her forever. I mean, I've talked to her and she's like, I've been sanding this model for 3 days. I can't stand it anymore.
Bye.
Oh, are you leaving?
Yeah, don't feel good.
Oh no, Molly. I hope you feel
It's been
better.
happening all week, trust me.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad I could.
And we'll see you next month, hopefully.
Yep, I will.
Okay.
Bye.
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 So I had this in the, I had a bunch of these because I was printing them, all these little toothpick things, and I used it out in the garden to mark where I planted seeds, and the sun just made it droop. So that's what happens to PLA in the sun.
Well, we had, most people know, our horrible incident with PLA is that Travis printed the giant Dame Drops shield and we left it in the car while we had lunch on the way home from VidCon last year, and it totally warped in the car. So I just wonder, yeah, I mean, with resin printers, do you think that technology will get better, or the materials will get better to where they will be more heat resistant than they are currently? I'll be honest. I mean, other than how amazing the prints look, I don't know enough about SLA printers as far as the types of materials, the differences that there are.
There's already high temp and high durability materials out there. I think it comes down to more of a function of cost. It's going to be cheaper to do it with the 0.25 nozzle on a FDM machine.
And even with the, oh, go ahead.
I would be remiss not to say that TPU is pretty heat resistant. I've washed things in the dishwasher. I have these little cat food can covers, and I have stuff sitting out in the sun. So TPU would be a material that you could use on your FDM printer that's fairly heat resistant.
Yeah, there seems to be, oh, go ahead, Vicki.
I was just gonna say, if you need proof that Barb has run things through the dishwasher, she has a video on it.
Actually, that reminds me, there was a question back in the chat that was asking about food safety, and it was talking about the progression of food safety with 3D printing, and how what materials, if any, that you ladies use right now that are food safe or you would consider food safe. I know I've seen a lot more things getting printed. I mean, I know Barb has like the spoon rests and stuff like that, where maybe that might not be as worrisome as far as food safety, but I'm talking about more like a cup that you're going to drink out of, or something that you're going to eat off of.
Like a plate?
I would say this is, this is not from my printers at home, but we do have printing service bureaus out there like Shapeways, and they have powder printers. And what they can do is make mold of your design, and they do slip casting. And this is porcelain and food safe. I drink coffee out of it. So it's pricey, but it is a way to go. And who colors?
So, what did you do? Did you 3D print that and send them the cup, and then they?
I uploaded my design. And from what I understand, they use their SLS printers, their powder printers, and they print a mold. And then I think they just do standard slip casting like you would do in pottery, and then go through the count, and then goes through with the food safe glaze.
Yeah, I think when it comes to 3D printing and food safety, you're always going to have a risk, and probably the best way to avoid that is to do like a castable wax type item, something that you can make a cast out of and use that rather than using your typical 3D printing materials, because you always are going to have a risk with the layer lines. Making something dishwasher safe obviously helps, because that can be sterilized in most dishwashers, like mine has a sterilized function. So you do have that, which is helpful, but it's always a risk. And with certain things, like I have printed Barb's spoon rest, I use it every day and it's great. I'm never really worried about it because it's not something that's coming in constant contact with. It's literally so that I don't make a mess of my counters, and that's it. So I think you just have to be realistic about what you're using it for, and how often you're using it, type of thing.
Most of the conversations I've seen have been on the fact that bacteria can harbor in the layer lines. I've seen a couple other things where people might say that the nozzle, if the nozzle's maybe might have lead in it. I'm not sure about the, so there's some concern about the nozzle, and then there's the concern about the layer lines. So when you do like the slip casting, you end up with something that doesn't have layer lines. So that seems to be, because I actually have a couple filaments that are FDA approved, but it's still, even though it might be FDA approved so that you're not going to get poisoned from the plastic, you still have that situation with bacteria. But then, you can argue, how often do you clean your refrigerator handle and your door to your bathroom and all of that? But I would never like print those spoon wrists and sell them on Etsy for fear that, it's not food safe. You know what I mean? So I guess use at your own risk.
Yeah, Ripcord in the chat was saying that he feels like food safe with FDM is only a one-time use. So I know like cookie cutters was kind of what I thought of, if you're using them to cut cookies and then you store it or whatever. But I don't know as far as the
cookie. So if you did something to the cookie, if you got bacteria on the cookie, theoretically bake it away. But I would agree that it's,
Or what about?
Personally, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So I have printed cookie cutters and I use them and I don't care, but I wouldn't want to sell them on Etsy, similar to you, Barb, just because I don't want that risk to be there.
Or what about, they're mentioning in the chat too about like a glaze or a coating that you could put on that would make it food safe. Has anyone used anything like that?
I've heard of it, but I haven't used it.
Same here. I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I wonder, is it coating it enough to take away from that? It makes a glaze over it. And then my only concern with that, does it wear off at some point?
Right, that would be my concern.
A lot. Yeah.
That would be my concern.
They're saying you should just drink alcohol out of your cups because then the alcohol, it sanitizes everything. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Oh, there was a follow-up to that question too. Was saying, is a machine's quality flaw more apparent when trying to print high resolution? Do you need a better or more expensive printer to even bother printing with a smaller nozzle at a slower pace? Do you feel like you can get that sort of quality out of a cheaper printer, or do you have to have a more expensive printer to make it worth it?
I don't know, but I can test it.
I think it's more about how dialed in your machine is, because you can get good results from really low cost machines as long as it's calibrated exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the first thing I 3D printed, I was worried about the quality and the layer lines. And now I printed so many things, I never even really noticed the layer line. I think as a society, we're probably spoiled that everything has to be perfect. But so if you can live with if it's a hook or a planter or a little Pokemon, do you really care if it has little layer lines on it? So so my response would be my feelings would be that a less expensive printer. It depends on. If you're not selling anything that you make, what difference does it make?
Well, I love to see some of the prints that people do. I've seen some that Joe, 3D Maker Noob, has done where the layer lines are huge. And I think that that's almost cool looking, when you're putting, like I did this big vase right here. And I was just testing the size capability and the base mode on the CR10. And I just think it was so cool when the layer lines are so huge. I think it looks neat. It almost adds to the artistic value of it. I mean, I can see on certain things, and actually that makes me think, so something like the polisher. So if somebody was concerned about something with layer lines on a food safe item, do you think that there is a market there for something like the polisher that could smooth a print and make it food safe? Do you think that that's something that's even feasible or would be worth it?
I think you still have the problem where it takes too much time. You know, you can't mass produce, you know, so that you're through the whole process. I think because the polishing takes time too. The polymaker has some kind of polisher out. And I've read some reviews on that and people seem to like it. But I mean, that's another process that you're tagging on the end of your 3D printing. So
now, is there food safe resin for or FDA approved resin for a SLA printer?
there might be.
No, are you laughing because there's not? Or we should know this?
I'm not sure.
Not sure either. That seems like something though, right? Like it's like, okay, then you're already getting the no layer lines. You're doing that. It's like, okay, are we hello SLA companies? We're reaching an untapped market here.
They have dental implants that are from SLAs that are safe. So I'd assume that they'd also be food safe if they're safe to like literally live in your mouth.
Oh, good
Right.
point.
That's very true. Okay, so we've got Joel in the chat, and he said the food safeness isn't always from the layer lines and areas from bacteria, but the fact that the process of extruding the filament isn't food safe. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, Joel. Barb was talking about there's the fear of when it goes through the nozzle that that's what's actually causing the unfood safeness. Not a word, but fitting. So, yeah, I think that's. Yeah, he's saying he doesn't think that anything considered food safe that comes from a resin machine.
I don't know. I'd see that before I'd see it from FDM, I think.
That there would be something like that offered. Yeah, I think with that, because there's a lot of restrictions just from talking with Arcania, Scott, and then talking from Garrett and Chelsea. With the resin printers, there's a lot as far as, because the resin can't sit there very long. I mean, do you think that that's a cleaner environment? I know we're going on a total food safe tangent. Sorry, gals, but.
Let's talk about fumes.
Fumes, yeah, for sure.
Kidding.
Yeah,
I think when it comes to like, so when you have something like porcelain, it's going to be hard for anything, like at least for right now, anything from any printer, or at least home printers, to compete with like the food safeness of porcelain. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to spend a bunch of time with 3D printed things and make them food safe when I can, have something like Vicky has. Like this is so much better.
So that what I have is expensive.
Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons, obviously, but.
So the easiest way around the whole food safe thing is to actually just print your part and then like in the reverse and cast like RTV or silicone, like food safe silicone from your part. Then you're not directly 3D printing it. You still get your same form, but the end result would be food safe. One idea.
I think that that's a good idea, and I think really honestly with all of it, like Lauren was saying and Barb saying, I think if it's for your personal use, you're probably less likely to be as concerned. It's more if you were trying to mass market something like that. And I don't know that any of us are really willing or wanting to do that anyways. So I don't know how we got on this tangent, but I think it's interesting. I guess maybe even too, if you're giving a gift or making something for someone, you would be like, FYI, I printed this on my printer at home. Be careful. But oh yeah, Joel's talking about the stuff they use for wooden salad bowls. I always wondered about that too, like the wood that they use for wooden salad bowls. That seems like over time it would become not as food safe.
And I use one almost every day and I'm still here.
And we're glad you're here, Barb. Oh, and someone in the chat saying, what about printing food itself?
Oh no, that was me.
I was like, wait, that's you. Wait a minute. I was like, I see.
Well, last time we were talking about the chocolate printers and the pancake pot. I mean, these problems I would guess carry over to that, but they have the pancake pot was popular a while ago.
But I think the nozzle on that's plastic.
Yeah.
Those are used, there's like a syringe cartridge type thing, and you can actually remove that, clean it. It basically uses like a squeeze bottle to print out of instead.
Well, or the candy printer, it's their disposable cartridges that you use.
Right.
Yeah.
And usually, like the chocolate one has a refillable syringe that you just fill with chocolate. You can clean the syringe, and you know it's just like using a syringe for anything else in your kitchen.
My niece works for the New York State Health Department, and I asked her about that. You know, hey, could I start printing chocolates and sell them? You know, for people having weddings and stuff. And you have to get certified by the state health department. So it'd be just like having a restaurant or a concession stand. And so there's a few regulations that you'd have to follow, and maybe some equipment that you'd have to invest in if you were going to go into business doing that.
After I say high five.
Can we do a little tangent real quick? So Sagan
Yes,
could
of
give
course.
Joel a high five.
I was just
All
going
right,
to
you
say.
want to give Joel a high five?
Hi, Joel. High five.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I can go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel has the candy and the pancake printer, and he's printed with both. I have to say, not that high quality. I mean, it's cool. I think it's much more of a gimmick thing at this point. Maybe the chocolate, like the specific chocolate printer, I've seen more intricate things, but the pancake printer and the candy printer, I don't know.
I totally want the chocolate one so bad. I used to love tempering chocolate. When I used to make truffles all day long, I used to love tempering chocolate. So I want to just sit there, temper chocolate, and print with it. It sounds like a heavenly afternoon to me.
Joel hasn't gotten a specific chocolate printer though, right? Joel, in the chat.
I don't think so. I've reached out to them, but I haven't heard back. A couple different companies make one. I've reached out to all of them and haven't heard back.
Oh, he's saying it's the Chalk Edge. Is that the one you have seen? I haven't seen
that was
it,
one
like,
of them. I feel like I just need it in my life.
I think you just need to get a laser and you can etch on your chocolate that way.
That would be fun too, but it's not the same.
We're trying here. It's probably a much cheaper alternative because I can only imagine how expensive a chocolate printer is.
Probably.
All right, Gal. So that was all the questions from the community. Why don't we kind of wrap up talking about what everyone's working on right now? Anyone want to start? No? Don't all jump at once.
Well, we already talked about what I'm working on, but I'll mention it again because I know there's different people in the chat. I am currently working on, for YouTube, the All That Glitters series, which is where I reached out to all of the companies that sell glitter filament, and I am printing with them. I'm not really going to compare one to the other until the very last video where I'm just going to showcase them all, but I am just going to talk to you about how any settings that I needed to change, anything that you might need to know, how they printed, in what applications they might be preferable. I did release the first one yesterday, so if you're interested, you can go check that out. And then I'm also working on 3D printed mouse ears, and as soon as that Instagram page gets up to 50 followers, I think we're like 9 away right now, then I will release the initial design so you guys can see what I've been working on.
Okay, so everyone, let's put a link in the chat, Lauren, so that we can
I'll
make sure. Do it now.
Sorry, it's already there.
Oh, there we go. See, we got Vicky. So go follow Lauren's Instagram so we can see all of her amazing ears. Spoiler alert, I've seen some of them and they're amazing. So you have to go let's get that happening. I might have to create additional Instagram accounts to make this happen.
There. I just followed you.
Yay!
42.
Oh, Daniel's saying, why hasn't Play-Doh made a kid printer? I feel like that's the,
I think they were working on one for a while.
Or it just makes me think of the old school, like the, oh, now I can't think of what it is, where you push down the handle and it oozes out the hair or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It was like just a Play-Doh toy.
Fun Factory. Play-Doh Fun Factory.
Oh, yeah.
It was an April Fool's joke. Never mind. It was an April Fool's joke. That's where I saw it.
So Barb, what are you working on right now?
I just did these, the pig pics.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Right, and I think I was going to do farm animal ones so that people could do those, but now you might have to worry about food safety if you use them. That's probably what brought that up, but I just print away stuff for the garden.
Okay, what about you, Claire? What are you working on right now?
I've been doing lots of random stuff. Lots of laser cutting things. I'm trying to get better at designing things for laser cutting because you kind of, like, if you want to make a box, you have to think about like how wide your wood is and fitting it all together. And then I found there's an open source 3D printed violin that I really want to build, but it's like the parts are kind of expensive and I don't actually play a violin, so I don't know if I can justify it.
I made one of those. Is it the violin one or the electric one?
No, it's a violin. It's.
You said you made one?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, show us.
I don't play violin either. Yeah, it's an electric violin. The chin rest broke. We dropped it, but it survives drop other than that.
Cool.
It sounded pretty good, so.
Play it.
I don't play violin. Here, maybe you can almost hear it. No.
Yeah, there's another one that's actually a full violin body, though, right? I know that there's someone who in the community is printing that right now. I've seen on Twitter. Chris, I think, is printing that right now. So Claire, that's what you're working on. We know Lauren's working on her ears. What are you working on, Sam?
I'm making more watch bands. I got all these awesome sample packs from Barb for Filaflex and for the Ninja Flex and Semiflex and Cheetah, and I'm testing them all to make different watch bands. So I was going to say, I think this is the Semiflex one, but I've got all these too. So got a new design I'm working on for these, and I got a bunch of new little band adapters I'm going to use them with.
Sam, you don't have a pink one. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I need to get some pink ones.
Oh, I have some pink flexible filaments. If you need some, I can send some over to you.
If you want to watch band, I'll make one.
I actually just had a friend, because when you 3D print, I get a lot of random texts like in the middle of the day, anytime, saying, "Can you make this for me?" And it was a case that goes around the Apple Watch that has Mickey Mouse ears on it. Yeah. And so it makes it, I thought that was cute. And a girlfriend of mine was like, can you make this? Can you make this for me? I'm like, I think you can buy that. But she was like, no, I need you to print me one, because she wanted a different color or something like that than they offered. But
yeah, the Ultimaker's not liking some of the Flex Zero ones, but it's working out.
Vicky, what are you working on right now? Oh, well, besides your dogs, talk about your dogs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Parsing through some custom orders from my last craft show. And at the same time, I'm slowly trying to add some more variety for my fall craft show. And some of it that's including little doggies. So let me click on that to see if it's focused. This is a little German Shepherd with a pink tongue, Heather. His tongue is pink.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I have some background projects that look like they're going to be very time consuming that I can't quite talk about yet. And for fun things, my husband just recently coated a game table with this high gloss finish. And unlike the casting resins, it didn't heat up. So I think I could actually put it in with PLA and not warp things. So I was considering making maybe a glass wing butterfly and fill in the glass part with some of this high gloss finish resin. And, we'll see. I always have lots of little experiments and stuff going on.
That's awesome. I think that stuff is so cool, like resin work. And if you put it in your tabletop, that'll be pretty amazing. Oh, we have a small one sneaking in possibly. So I am working on right now my OpenRC car. That's pretty much it. I'm printing lots and lots of pieces at this point, and then hopefully I'll be trying to figure out how to put it all together. And oh, and Ari's bringing in the bearings because we are consistently printing spinners or making spinners. What?
Tons of spinners.
Tons of spinners. Yes, tons and tons of spinners. But working on the OpenRC car. What are you going to print? Oh, we're going to print a giant Tigger this weekend. I told Garrett and Chelsea I was going to print the Tigger model that Garrett did for me. I'm going to print it on the CR10 to test how big I can print it. Yeah? What are you working on? Tell them what you're working on. That's what we're talking about right now.
I don't know.
What do you want to work on? We're putting you on the spot. It's too hard to say now.
Draw more of those.
Oh, draw more from your app?
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to work on. And I'd like to say that we need to stream more because not only did I get coffee and breakfast, Travis is downstairs cleaning right now.
Yeah.
So can we stream more often, gals? Oh, you're having a temper tantrum. Okay. All right, Vicky. Well, I think we're about to wrap up anyways. Is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about before we finish up?
Nope.
Well, I'd like to thank all of the ladies that joined in the stream today and everyone who joined in the chat. I'm going to put all of the links to everyone's channels or stores in the description, so you'll be able to see that after the stream goes up live. And well, I don't know. We don't know who's going to host next month yet, but we will. Oh, Ari wants to host. But we will definitely put out there in the community when we'll be streaming next and who will be hosting that. And thanks, gals, for letting me host. Hopefully it was okay. And
it was awesome. You are awesome, Mob Boss.
Thanks for chatting, gals.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.